Recruitment is a full-time job. HR managers and directors, they're focusing on 20 different things in their day. A lot of times with these companies that have 50 open positions, they're getting thousands of resumes. So that's where we come in. Our goal is to make it as simple as possible. So when you outsource the recruiting to us, we don't want to add more time to your plate. The goal is to take that time away and let us focus on the recruiting side.
Dudley Land, you don't get to stick around in the oil and gas business for 40-something years unless you really care about your clients, really care about your people. Ultimately, you sign on with Dudley Staffing, we're going to care about you, and we're going to care about the people that we staff in your company.
Welcome to the Land Department Podcast, the state of land and energy as we see it.
Brandon, good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Yeah, how's everything going?
It's going good, man. I had much needed time off. I've been running for the past 5 weeks, and I was ready for a little R&R, although I didn't get much of it. I think I got 1 day of R&R over the past several weeks, so it's been a busy time.
It has been a busy time. We have a lot to talk about today going on with Dudley in many aspects. One person we should talk about is Makenzie. Brandon, why don't you introduce Makenzie for us?
Sure. Makenzie Wall, she's out of our Pittsburgh office right now, and she's heading up our new Dudley Staffing company. Several years of experience in staffing, and a great person with what I've come to realize. So glad to have her on board.
Yeah. Makenzie, what's it been like the first, I think you're 6 weeks in roughly. What's that been like at starting out at Dudley?
It's been fun. One of the big reasons I joined Dudley was, you could tell from just meeting with Brandon, Steve, Brent, is they've been with the company for, 20 plus years. And you can tell that just their culture over the last 6 weeks has been really great. Just everyone here that I've met has been so helpful. So it's been a fun 6 weeks. Looking forward to really, getting off the ground with Dudley Staffing and get the ball rolling.
Fantastic.
You might ask her off camera, Khalil.
Yeah.
True.
You might make it a different answer. No, we're glad to have you on the team and glad that you feel that way. We're going to be talking about Dudley Staffing and everything that you're doing, but really before we jump into why we started Dudley Staffing, I want to dive into more of the reasons why Dudley's been so successful for the last 40 years and just a conversation around how we've approached people in general. Brandon, you've been with Dudley for quite a while. What is really the ethos behind why Dudley does so well in the land industry?
I always go back to my days as a crew chief or a landman, a crew chief, a prospect manager, and the Dudley culture has always been to care about the people working for them, whether that's a contractor or an employee. I mean, I remember we used to go out and do barbecue cook-offs. Like, we used to go out and actually hang out with crews, the managers at Dudley. When I was a landman, I remember my prospect managers, Havenstrite, the owners coming and doing a cookout, just hanging out, taking us to a ball game, whatever it is. They've always cared about you, whether or not you're a contractor or an employee. And that's a big thing. We also care about how those people come on board with us too. It's, we go through an interview process. We actually talk to our contractors before we put them on a job. We put our employees through an intensive interview process that takes a couple weeks to complete. We care about the people working for us. So therefore we care about how we bring them on and how we interview them and how we really want to get to know them before we actually put them in place somewhere. That's not always true on the contractor side. Sometimes you need to staff a 30-man project. But the fact of the matter is we still talk to them a couple times. We call references. We do those things. And it was a natural progression into staffing because our back office is built to staff jobs. That's what we do. We get a job from an energy company. We decide how to tackle it. And then we go and recruit for those positions, contractors, employees, everything. And we marry those things up. We make sure that those people, the employee that we have on it, the manager, for instance, is a good fit for that job. We do the same thing on the contractor side. So taking our process and putting it into the staffing world just was a no-brainer. And everything on our back end, our systems, our accounting, our HR, it's all built to staff projects. And that's no different than staffing a job.
Yeah. What has it been like for you, Makenzie, to kind of see the back end of everything that happens at Dudley Land as you get started with Dudley Staffing? What has that been like for you, seeing all the nuts and bolts, as you would say?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar in so many ways. And our back office team, from accounting to HR to the executive team, has everyone's one team. Although Dudley Land and Dudley Staffing technically are two different companies, everyone is ready to help, ready to do what they need to do to make Dudley Staffing successful. Even a lot of the clients at Dudley Land, they need staffing other than just landman. They need administrative staffing. They need HR teams, and they need administrative roles in the office, maybe even in the field. So it's a great way to kind of transition and tag team right between Dudley Land and Dudley Staffing. And our back office team at Dudley has just been great on helping onboard clients and helping onboard candidates. So all in all, we're one big team, and that's been really great the last couple weeks I've been here.
That's a great point. And I want to give a shout out to our HR team and our accounting team. When we brought this idea to them, they didn't go, what the heck? You're just adding more work to me. They said, all right, let's do it. Let's figure it out. I just got off a call with Rebecca and Annika, for instance, and they're all about it. They're really driving the ship forward and really helping out. We just got such a great team, Khalil. Everybody is bought in. Everybody's happy about it. So, to her point, they're great. We've got a great team over here.
Yeah. Well, I know most of our listeners are already in the land industry, the energy industry, but some people may not be in either of those spaces that are going to be listening to this, learning about Dudley Staffing for the first time. So, what are the services that we're really going to be providing? Because it's kind of dual-sided in the recruitment, but also in the staffing side. So why don't we kind of walk through that a little bit so people understand everything that Dudley Staffing is offering?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's three kind of main services. So, on the first side of it is your direct hire side. So that's, really the ideal service for somebody that they're like, hey, we want this person to be on our payroll, our benefits. A lot of times with those higher end positions that, may offer really great benefits and whatnot. We also have a contract side. So that's, we take care of their payroll, we pay them, and then we invoice. So we offer all of our contractors benefits, both for the contract and the contract to hire side. So we offer benefits, health, vision, dental, a 401k. So they'll be, on our payroll. We'll take care of all payroll costs, all unemployment benefits. Basically all those fringe costs are kind of all looped into our service. So the contract side is really great if you have a project, that may only be 3 to 6 months. So you don't need somebody full time. And it's really just, to help gear that project up, help run it, make it successful. And then, you don't need them any longer. So that's like the contract side. And then the contract to hires, kind of the try before you buy, making sure they're a good fit for your company and culture. So you can, run them through Dudley Staffing, and then, make that decision that they are or are not, the best fit for your company. So we kind of give you that flexibility, throughout the process. If you decide, hey, this person's great, let's bring them on board. Or if not, we'll find them another assignment through Dudley.
Yeah. And just to add to that, the contract to hire side, whenever I was Associated Resources was a company that was owned by Dudley Land, and we did lease records, division orders, and accounting. We've since sold that off to PetroLedger. Shout out PetroLedger. But in that business, it really worked well. That contract to hire, try before you buy, worked really well for us. And we were able to really build staff quickly, which is what that industry needed, but also ensure that we had the right candidate. And we typically knew that within a couple months, but we'd extend that contract out to the 720. Didn't cost us a thing. It was just as if we kind of rented somebody for a while and then brought them on. It worked out really well. And then on the contract side, obviously, that's what we do, at Dudley. We loan landmen out to our clients, and we get projects done and they're gone. They stay off the books. And it just works out really well for most companies. And it took me a while, I got to say, like I did not like staffing companies, and I still don't. And we'll get into this later, but I really wanted to do it a little different. There's a couple people that I talk to and I go, look, I don't mess around. We're going to do this and you're going to get me a good candidate. And if you don't, then I'm not going to use you again, period. I don't want to have those conversations with my clients coming up. I want to staff the best person for their particular job. And so Makenzie's going to ask a lot of questions up front to make sure that we are getting the person they want. And part of that's going to be culture. What's your culture like? What type of people do you want? There will be times on larger positions, we even do assessments, professional assessments on them, depending on what the role is. But ultimately, we want to find the right candidate for your job. And that's what you want out of a staffing company. You just don't want bodies most of the time.
Yeah. So let's dive into that a little bit more. We're talking kind of how we're different and, why we are different than most of the other staffing companies out there. I want to back up and just even talk about why we're different than the typical way someone might hire by themselves. Because a lot of companies are just going through this process themselves. Maybe they have an HR manager that's not only doing onboarding and benefits and payroll and all these different things, but they're also doing recruitment. But then you've also got people that really aren't in HR that are just posting positions online and then trying to take in applicants and passing them on to boss and maybe going through some good interviews, maybe not. Let's kind of talk about that challenge. What is it like to be in the shoes of that company that is just having a headache with finding good people for their open positions? What is that like, Makenzie?
Yeah. So, recruitment is a full-time job. So for, like you touched on, is the HR managers and directors of these companies, they're focusing on 20 different things in their day. And especially when you're on site, people can come in your office and then you get distracted. So, a lot of times with these companies that have 50 open positions, they're getting thousands of resumes. And it's, AI and all these recruitment tools are great, but you still physically need somebody to go through all those applicants, shortlist them or not. So that's where we come in. It's super specialized. That's the only thing we do, right? We focus on recruitment. So we have offices in Pittsburgh, Oklahoma City, and then Houston. So we have those networks. We post the jobs, making sure that they are SEO qualified, I guess, and making sure that the job seekers are getting all the information from them. We're taking the time to go through every single applicant. We are pre-screening them. So we are only sending the top candidates to that customer. Whereas, if they're doing it internally, they have to go through all of those candidates, make those phone calls. And that in itself just takes hours and hours. So, bringing in a third-party recruiting firm to help you with that just really, speeds up the time. A lot of times these positions are, they need to be filled yesterday. So that's where we come in. We're quick, we're efficient, and then we only send you the top candidates. So you only have maybe 3 to 5 to review instead of thousands.
I think just our own experience. I mean, we spend 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 365 days. I mean, 260 days, work days a year. Literally, we have people at Dudley Land recruiting all the time. That's all they do. And there's really no reason to pay for that whenever you're not recruiting 100% of the time. If you're only doing it 50% of the time, 25% of the time, well, that's 25%, 50% of your whole year. If you're 1 or 2 people doing that, if you don't have somebody dedicated to it, they're gonna waste a lot of time. I know we waste a ton of time interviewing people and not hiring them. There's that aspect. It's not about an interview and then hire them. You're not going to get the best candidate the first time you talk to them. You're going to get the best candidate by talking to 10, 20, 30 people and then identifying what their culture is, what their experience is, and how they're going to fit in that job. And we take that off the hiring manager or the HR recruiter, whatever that is. And so they can focus on what they really need to be doing.
Yeah. So I want to hear, Makenzie, like what allows you, because you're so specialized, you're just doing the recruiting compared to the typical HR manager who doesn't have the time to completely focus on recruitment. What are the things that you're able to do really well that an HR manager can't? I mean, obviously maybe looking through every single application is a big step in the right direction. But what is some of the stuff that's happening behind the scenes that isn't getting the attention that it deserves from people that are trying to do this themselves?
Yeah, and I think, to preface what I'm going to say is a lot of clients that we work with, they have a full HR team. Some even have a whole talent acquisition team. For us at Dudley Staffing, we want to be a partner, right? So we don't want to just be another vendor, another staffing agency to fill, a role. We want to come to your facility. We want to see what your culture is like, because that is probably one of the number one questions that you get as a recruiter, in a third party is, well, what's their culture like? So we want to take all that time up front to really understand the company, what their culture's like, understanding their highs and their lows and what their benefit package is. So when we're talking to these candidates, we're not wasting their time or the client's time if it's not going to be a right fit. So on the candidate side, though, we also get a lot of candidates that reach out and are like, hey, I'm casually looking for a new job. So we're able to make those connections, maybe a job for a client's not even posted, but we know that they're looking, and we can kind of match those candidates and be like the matchmakers on the back end. We also, Brandon touched on it earlier, is do, behavior assessments or personality assessments. We handle all the drug tests, the background checks. So not just the time that, goes into all those, but it's also the manpower, and the cost that goes into those too. So at Dudley Staffing, that's all included in our cost to make it like really a full service recruiting firm.
No, that's really great to hear. And I absolutely agree. But what if you need to find someone really quickly? Both of you have mentioned already that you need to find someone yesterday. What can you do that allows you to fill a position faster and better, not just faster with a heartbeat, but with someone who actually fits than the typical company can do?
Yeah. So we have a whole database, right, of candidates that are in our locations or in, we staff all across the US, but so we have those candidates already in our database that we can send, contact within seconds. We also are very well connected in LinkedIn and just different networking groups that, our posts and our job postings get a lot more views than, maybe a standard company's would. So we have a lot of different resources on the back end, and then not, also including all the job boards and everything like that. But just our networks in general, really leverage us to be able to find someone quick. That's also the right fit, right? You don't, like you said, you don't want to just find someone quick that just has a heartbeat and you're like, okay, they can do the role. But we really want to find that perfect fit, or that rainbow unicorn, as they call it, to, make sure the client's happy, make sure they're a good culture fit and can also do the job.
And just to add on to that, I mean, we're living and breathing this 24/7, and everybody else knows that we're doing it too. So I was talking to Makenzie this morning about all these LinkedIn connections I'm getting, and they all say open to work, because you're in this world, candidates see you as a bridge to their next career, right? So not only our clients, and hopefully more and more clients reach out to us, but candidates are already coming in the door, and we just got to find a home for the ones that fit with that particular company. So we're living and breathing it 24/7. It's all we do. It's all Makenzie focuses on. It's all some of our recruiters in the back office focus on. A typical HR manager has a big job to do. They've got a lot of things on their plate, and they can't live and breathe recruiting all the time. We want to be that partner, as Makenzie says, to help them with that. Hey, you don't even have to use us. Just let's get on paper. Let us try to find somebody for you. If you don't like who we found, you don't have to hire them. It's no cost to you. You can move on down the road, and it takes 30 minutes of your time, an hour of your time to look at a resume and talk to the person. And that's it, as opposed to trying to being in a hiring frenzy, spending all day trying to find somebody else and putting everything else you're supposed to do on the back burner. So I think that's one of the main reasons.
What I love about this also is that it's kind of drinking the Kool-Aid yourself, scratching your own itch. What Dudley Land has done for so long, for over 40 years, is they're not doing for other people, whether that's the contract side they're doing it for landmen. Now they're doing it in other spaces as well. But we're also looking for people to fill employee positions inside of Dudley ourselves constantly. And now we're offering those same recruitment resources that we use for that to other people. So really cool to see how that's working. I want to know what the process is like to get started. How easy is it? What do we go through? And how do I get from, hey, let's jump on a call, I'm assuming, to, wow, we hired this person? How does it work?
Yeah. So our goal is to make it as simple as possible, right? So when you outsource the recruiting to us, we don't want to add more time to, your plate. The goal is to take that time away and let us focus on the recruiting side. So basically we hop on, I call it an introductory call, or meeting in person if you're, located in the Pittsburgh area. But really just understanding their needs. What are your struggles? Have you tried filling this on your own? What's your feedback on that? And then really from there, we have a company service agreement that's pretty straightforward, an industry standard. But right from there, we start our recruiting efforts right away. I do like to schedule time to meet them in person or see their facility, especially if it's like a manufacturing facility, that it really helps us understand, what the job entails, what their culture is like, et cetera. And then we really, hit the ground running from there, take on all the job postings. We'll even create your job descriptions for you if needed. And then, throughout the process, we'll pre-screen. And like I said, only send you, the top couple candidates for you to review. And like Brandon said, if you don't like any of them, there's no cost to you until that person actually starts work. So on the contract side, you only pay for the hours that they work. And then on the direct hire side, you pay, and then we do offer a guarantee, if, in case for some reason they don't work out. So I'll say it again, but we want to be a staffing partner, not just another vendor. So, we want to make sure it works well for both parties involved, and find them the best candidate, as quick as possible.
Okay, excellent. What types of roles are we talking about here? What are we hiring for?
Yeah. So our professional services is really our what we specialize in. So that would be, anything in an office per se. So it could be administrative roles, and we've done, entry level up to C-level, C-suite positions. So human resources, office roles, administrative, accounting and finance. I really think anything that falls under that professional umbrella is what we specialize in.
Yeah. So we touched on, obviously we see the value in working with someone like Dudley Staffing, but what if someone's already worked with a staffing agency in the past? They've already had a previous experience. What sets Dudley Staffing apart from the other staffing agencies, recruitment agencies that are out there? Why are we different? More than just our experience, more than just the culture we have internally. What sets us apart?
Yeah, so there are a lot of staffing agencies out there, and so there are a lot to choose from. But what I think Dudley Staffing has that a lot of others don't is our people. Everyone says your people are your best asset in a company. So your people are going to dedicate the time. So we are going to dedicate every ounce of the day that we have to make sure we're finding the right fit. Communication is a huge thing. Hiring managers don't want to send you an email and not hear back for days, right? Like, you can call my personal phone, you can text me, like any method of communication, like we are going to get back to you, within an hour at the max. So just, trusting your people. And, I trust Dudley that we're going to fill that position fast. We're going to communicate with you throughout the process. We're going to make sure that you feel heard, right? We don't want, again, anybody can read a job description, but we want to have that meeting. We want to create those relationships, so that we can really understand you, your culture, your company, so that, we can find you that perfect.
Same. I mean, it's about communication. And like Makenzie says, there's a lot of staffing companies out there, and there's a lot of really good ones. There are. We want to be associated with those top level ones, and we're going to do what it takes on our side to make sure we are. We're going to set standards. We're not going to stray from our core values. In our core values, I think they're posted out there, Makenzie. If they're not, we will. I think that's what's going to get us there. And Dudley Land, you don't get to stick around in the oil and gas business for 40 something years unless you really care about your clients, really care about your people. It just doesn't happen. There's a lot of other brokerages throughout the years that, they didn't care as much. They didn't communicate as well. And therefore, they're not in business. And we feel the same way about staffing. If we don't communicate well, if we don't care about what we're doing, and we don't live by our core values, it's not going to go well. And we've got every motivation to do that and to keep that up. And ultimately, you sign on with Dudley Staffing, we're going to care about you and we're going to care about the people that we staff in your company.
Love to hear it. Well, I'm really excited to announce this. Dudley Staffing is now open. How can people start working with us? What's the first step? Where do they sign up?
Yeah, so they can send us an email. So we have a form, a really quick and simple form on our website. Both Brandon and I's email are on there, and our personal and work number. So you can reach us in all those different ways. We will be very responsive. But yeah, like we said, give us a call. We'll hop on a quick, introduction meeting, get to know you and what your needs are, and then basically hit the ground running from there.
Okay, excellent. Well, we'll link to the Dudley Staffing website, dudley-staffing.com in the show notes, as well as the emails for both Makenzie and Brandon. Thank you both for joining us on the land department. Excited about Dudley Staffing, and hopefully some people will start using you to find great people to fit inside their company.
Sounds great. Thanks, Khalil. Thanks, Makenzie.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks for listening to The Land Department. Check out our website in the show notes or visit dudley-land.com to learn more about us.